Hello and welcome to the Milan Talk podcast. I'm your host Samit Paul and we're reacting to the 5-2 win over Dudelange tonight in the Europa League. A lot harder than it had to be. I think there's a very, very simple lesson to take away from the game, and that is if we take the game to the opposition, we get results. The minute we decide to drop off, let our sort of tempo and urgency drop, allow the opposition to get comfortable and start playing some fairly decent football, and to their credit, there were two very good goals. But it's a clear lesson that we just need to be on the ball and not only make the most of our quality. We obviously had the superior quality man for man in the two lineups, but the determination and the ability to play with fire and intensity after we went 2-1 down. We looked a completely different team. We looked levels above them just after a period when they almost looked like they were the better team and on top. So it was a really, really mixed game. Good start. I thought we came out the blocks really quickly, took the lead, and then just switched off. Again, like I said, let them get comfortable, allowed them to start playing some decent football, and they took two really good goals. It was good to see us wake up after going behind, and from that point onwards, the goals came, and it ended up being pretty comfortable. But don't let the scoreline sort of mask over the problems. There's a lot of issues in that performance still. It seems that we've struggled in every game in Europe, to be honest, so far this season, whether that's just for patches or for entire games like against Betis. I think we've got a real problem in Europe still. I don't know what it is, so whether it's the change in tempo, whether it's the sort of tactical know-how, the whatever it is, we haven't got the answer yet. And if we're going to struggle at home against a team like Dudelange, then I'm not too sure if we get through. We've got a big game in Greece coming up now. Whether or not we've got what it takes to go far in this competition in the knockout stages, I'm not so sure. But looking at the immediate future, it's a good result, and it's all on that last game now. Just a few other talking points to take away from the game before I get to your Twitter comments. I thought Simic was excellent at the back. I never want to see Abate in a back three ever again. It was a very, very mature performance from him. To think that he's coming in for his debut. He looked very assured on the ball. Nothing extravagant. Everything was very simple, but in a way that was probably a good thing. I think he just kept it very simple, made very few mistakes from what I can remember, and defensively just very solid. Equally no nonsense in his defensive work as well. Whether it was coming across to deal with somebody, just wanted to get rid of the ball and nullify the attack and wipe it out. I thought he was brilliant. I cheekily gave the goal to him on Twitter, but obviously that's going to go down as an own goal. But key in that one as well. And overall, yeah, just a really mature, solid performance from him. So hopefully, if we've got problems at the back still, Zapata limped off at the end. Let's hope that Simic gets the nod against Parma on Sunday, because I think he's done a great job tonight, albeit the opposition isn't great, but he dealt with what he had to. It was in front of him, and for me, I thought it was a really, really good performance. So delighted with him. At the completely other end of the spectrum, Bertolacci, I believe, should have his contract cancelled as soon as possible. I've said it for a long time now. I just don't think he's got the characteristics for modern day football to have any sort of positive impact at the highest level. I don't feel he's got the mobility. I don't think he's got the passing range. I don't really feel as though he's defensively, the tenacity is not good enough to kind of make him that sort of workhorse in the middle. There's just nothing stand out in his game. I don't really know what we saw in him from his Genoa days to kind of pluck him and spend that money on him and think, yeah, this is going to be a great signing. But whatever it was, he definitely hasn't got it anymore. And it's just another example. If he cannot win a midfield battle against Dudelange, then what on earth is he going to do in a bigger game in Serie A? There's just no future for him for me at San Siro, and the quicker we get him out the door, the better. Maybe you might think that's being a bit harsh. He might be a squad player, but for me, I just don't see any positives that he brings to the table, and I think he's got to go. So we'll have to see if that actually happens in the summer or not. On a more positive note, I would say it's great to see Çalhanoğlu scoring. There's something about him. I've got a soft spot for him. There's something when he scores, there's just that extra little feeling of happiness. And I really do hope now that that goal sparks something for him, because he's not been good enough. He's fallen short of the standards that we've expected. He had a great second half of the season last year. I was hoping that he'd pick up from there and continue in that vein of form, but he hasn't. Now let's hope he's got himself amongst the goals. He's kind of growing in confidence. I think maybe that foot injury played a part. His personal issues played a part as well. Hopefully things are now settling and he's getting back to focusing on his football and playing at 100%. And for me, great to see him on the score sheet, and what a goal it was. Brilliant strike. And let's hope we see many more of those between now and the end of the season. And then finally, just one other point, more of a negative. I would have to raise a slight question mark on Higuain. I think for me, I just wonder whether or not he really is the leader that we need up front. You know, we're an inexperienced team, we're a young team, and we've got players like Higuain, Biglia, who of course is injured now, to kind of take on those leadership roles and guide the rest of the players. I honestly feel as though when things aren't going well for us and he gets frustrated, he isn't a help to anybody. It's certainly when he's not scoring goals. I think if he's scoring goals, he alleviates that pressure. He's excellent at doing that, and he has got an absolutely crucial role for us. But when he's not scoring goals, I just wonder about the constant moaning and berating of his teammates. There were a couple of situations where Cutrone got an earful from him, and that's not really what you want to see from him. You know, he spoke in midweek about being a mentor for Cutrone, teaching him everything he can. Then he was talking about how he's never ever asked to leave Milan, and he's learning from his mistake against Juve, and he's going to kind of control his emotions better. But for me, if he's not scoring, I do wonder whether or not he's a hindrance up front for us. Sometimes I'm not questioning his quality, I'm not questioning his goal-scoring record, nothing like that. More so his personality when he's in a difficult situation. I just feel as though he may just be taking the wrong option and the wrong approach to things, and that's just him. That's his personality rather than anything else. So hopefully that's not an issue moving forward, but I do feel as though that kind of could be a problem for us, but we shall see how it goes. Right, onto your Twitter questions and comments next. Starting with Bradley Watson at Spidey0816. Simic impressive. Çalhanoğlu finally, one of my favourites from our team. Not impressed with Higuain. Let off the gas at the beginning of the second half. Shouldn't have taken us going down to a low league minnow to light a fire. Killer instinct still not there. Bertolacci, please leave. Halilovic solid. Deserved more. Barini, dear Lord, now he will get more minutes. Good response after going down, but need that intensity from start to finish. Understand it'll dip, but not low, like letting this team look better than us. As always, Bradley, I can't disagree with any of your points there. Agreed with you on Simic, Çalhanoğlu being a favourite, absolutely. I'm assuming you may be alluding to the same issues that I've got with Higuain, but overall his performance wasn't great either. And yeah, Bertolacci, please leave, absolutely. And a shout out for Halilovic. I feel as though it was a decent performance from him. I think he had a bit of spark, a bit of something different to him. He was eager to get on the ball, kind of make those little jinking runs into space. His movement off the ball was good. So a lot of positives to take away from it. And of course the fact that, you know, he's not played in such a long time. His first appearance for us in a competitive game at this level. Overall, considering all the factors and putting it into context, it was a positive outing, I would say that. But I would like to see a bit more from him in the final third. If he's going to be pushing for a regular spot in the team, you know, he's got to do more when he's got the ball at his feet. A bit like Suso in that sense. Obviously not comparing the two directly, but when he's in those dangerous positions, you've got to see something more from him, and then hopefully he'll have a role to play as the season goes on. Joe Milanista at the Milanisti 11. All I'll say is that there's never a dull moment in the life of a Milan fan. That is 100% true. I did say, you know, sometimes I wish it was a little bit more simple. This obviously should have been much more convincing, but it wasn't. But as Joe also added, he'd much rather have a 5-2 than a boring 1-0. So as long as it finishes like this and we win games, get the 3 important points, then I think we're all enjoying it and it's all good fun. But definitely need to see the performances improve a lot from what we saw tonight. Hendy, I think the main reason we were behind was Bertolacci. I don't see any downside of Halilovic. He dribbles and passes really similar to Suso. Mari over Bertolacci from start should have made us an easy win. 100% agreed with you on Mari over Bertolacci. I'm not really sure how that pecking order has switched. Mari was much better than Bertolacci. He has been previously, but even tonight, the impact that he made and the improvement he made on the midfield was clear. So 100% agree with that. He has to start ahead of Bertolacci if we're down to the bare bones again. Guy Cohen at the FIFA 91011. As time goes, I'm less and less convinced by Higuain. Again, Guy, I don't know whether you're alluding to the same points that I was making earlier about his attitude more than his performance. Again, yeah, I'd agreed his performance wasn't great tonight, but my personal biggest issue with him is the attitude side of things. I don't think he's a particularly positive person to be around when things aren't going well for us. Gattuso managed the game brilliantly and essentially saved the game with great subs early on. That is a great point. We've obviously criticised him a lot in the past about taking too long to make substitutes and on the weekend not making any. So he gets it wrong sometimes, but tonight he was spot on, made the right changes, and it turned the game in our favour, so no complaints with him. Dudelange is honestly terrible, should never play. Laxalt not good enough for Milan, hope he just remains on loan and isn't bought. Suso best player by a mile as always. Bakayoko started a bit slow, but towards the end it was a solid performance. Jose Mari and Simic really surprised me. They're actually really good and viable backups. Halilovic decent, Calabria too offensive today. All in all 3 points, which is good, but we lack creativity. Couldn't ask more than Paqueta. He could improve us a lot. Yeah, again, agreed with the Dudelange shout. He is terrible. Honestly, can't believe he even got a game tonight. He definitely shouldn't be starting or playing again for the rest of the season. I don't think he adds anything. I think Laxalt probably falls into that little bracket of maybe being a decent squad player, but agreed. I think he's kind of almost taken a backward step, if anything, from his earlier performances. Not really impressed with him recently, but I do feel as though he's got a role to play for us anyway. Big impact from Suso off the bench, agreed. Bakayoko warmed to the game, so no disagreement there. I'm glad Simic gets another shout as well. I think he was really, really good. And yeah, I think the creativity is a problem. There was a moment in the game where I know Jack's not been in top form this season, but you kind of wish that we had someone like him in the midfield to really give us that extra bit of quality and spark to kind of create something. So Paqueta coming in January, fingers crossed that's the solution. We all hope it is, but for now, we do need to get more from Calhanoglu and Suso moving forward to make sure that we haven't got that problem for the next month or so. Alright guys, that's a wrap for this podcast. Like I said in the beginning of the pod, very difficult night when it should have been much more simple for me. I was expecting a really convincing performance and win to give us a boost in terms of our goal difference heading into that final game against Olympiacos now. Massive game in Greece. You got Betis with 11 points at the top, us in second with 10, and then Olympiacos with 7. So it's all to play for on this final game. It's going to be a big test of our character, our resolve, to really see what we are made of and how we react to adversity under massive pressure. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. So it's going to be a very, very difficult trip. We've made life difficult for ourselves, in all honesty. We didn't impress in the first game with Dudelange, so a bit lucky to get the 3 points on that occasion. But the games against Betis have really hurt us, and let's just hope it doesn't come back to haunt us now against Olympiacos in the last game. I'll be back on Sunday for the Parma game. Appreciate all your comments and all your questions as usual. Find me on Twitter and Facebook at MilanTalk1. But in the meantime, Forza Milan.